Good morning and welcome to another edition of 30 Minutes with Jan. It's Thursday morning, donderdagochtend. So yeah, it's a beautiful morning. It's a bit rainy down here in Tauranga. But this morning is not about the weather or the weatherman. We're talking to Trevor Roux. Trevor, good morning.
Morning, Jan. How are you?
Hi, mate. I'm good. Trevor Roux is a guy that rents out vehicles to people coming from South Africa or anywhere basically in the world. I mean, you don't only prefer South Africans at the end of the day. People is people. So, yeah. Trevor, your company's name is Long Term Car Hire. Is that right?
That's right, Jan. Good morning, everybody in South Africa. Everybody that's listening in, good morning. Yes, my company is a company called Long Term Car Hire. We specialize in long-term rentals, vehicle rentals, anything from 2 weeks up to 12 months. And then, basically, mostly to new arrivals, may it be from South Africa or all over the world. And then we also rent out to the universities, professors, exchange programs, students, medical staff, engineers. So we do rent out to a lot of professionals, and obviously, as you mentioned, newcomers.
Where can I find your cars? Can I just find them if I go to? I know you guys are based in Hamilton, but can I only get them in Hamilton or wherever can I get them?
We've got a depot in Auckland. We've got one in Hamilton, one in Cambridge, and then one in the South Island, Christchurch.
Okay, so wherever I go, I can have a car.
Yes, and you can go obviously on the website www.nzlongtermcarhire.co.nz, and you can do online booking. Yeah.
All right. Just another question. A lot of people arrive here in the middle of the night, and that's quite a nasty way to come to a new country because, I mean, in the middle of the night, there's not a lot of stuff open at all. So how do I get a vehicle from you if I arrive 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock at night?
Yeah, there is some customers, that do want a vehicle that time of the night. Most of the customers, after 11, 14 hours travel, some cases longer from South Africa in particular, they normally sleep over or they book into a hotel, and we either deliver the car the next morning or they collect it from our depot. But
Right.
yes, we do have a shuttle service and a collection service or a drop-off service, to all the airports, international airports. Yes.
And if you have got any questions for Trevor, please drop the questions down in the comment boxes. We'll display that on the screen for him to answer. What is the most important thing about renting a car?
I think it's peace of mind, Jan. People arrive here, they've got so much to think of. The last thing they want to worry about is to purchase a car.
Yeah.
Now, just before I give you a typical scenario of people arriving here, we've also got another company, Henry Roux Motors, which we sell cars. So, I wear both hats, and I normally suggest to people that, it's overwhelming arriving here. Everything is new. 90% of the people that arrive from South Africa haven't been in New Zealand. So they don't know their right from their left. And then they get bombarded with, finance companies offering them finance and trying to sell them vehicles. And my suggestion to everybody is find your feet, start earning money, see what it costs you to, to actually run your household for a month. And then, once you settled in, then purchase a vehicle. We've also got packages that you can hire to purchase. You don't just have to hire. And when I say peace of mind, it's extremely expensive here to maintain vehicles.
Yeah.
I always use the example of purchasing a car for $5,000. You'll pay up to 10 to 12% just to service that car of that value. So your service would be $600.
Oh, yeah.
And, you don't want any surprises, cars breaking down. I get that on a daily basis. People buy cars, they're in a hurry. They don't necessarily think what they do. And then a week or 2 weeks down the line, the car's broken. Now they've got to pay that car and they've got to rent a vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
So, my suggestion is, just find your feet, rent for a month or two, and then purchase a vehicle.
My own experience was basically we wanted to buy a vehicle over the internet and only seen on photos. And then at the very last moment, I decided not to do this, and I rented a vehicle, I think from Avis or whoever else down in Auckland, and drove with that for about a week or so, just to get us time to look vehicles over. And I actually went to look at this vehicle that the guy was promising me. It was such a great vehicle. That was probably one of the most horrifically scraped vehicles I've ever seen in my life. So I would have bought a dud, to be quite frank.
Yeah, that happens quite often. I get it literally on a daily basis where people buy cars, and the problem is, if they hire purchase, well, not hire purchase, but if they lease it, or they not buying it cash, the interest gets added to the purchase price.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
they want to sell that, they owe more on the car than what the car is worth. And 99% of the time, if they want to part with a vehicle, they have to pay in to get rid of the debt. So I just always say to the people, keep your hands as tight to your chest as you can. I mean, it's expensive here on your arrival. There's a lot of hidden costs and stuff you've got to pay. Don't be in a hurry. I mean, if you, the nice thing about the rent or hiring a vehicle, your maintenance is included, your insurance is included, you've got roadside assistance. If the car breaks, you give it back and we give you another one. So, out of a practical point of view, and obviously a cost point of view, I think it's much better to hire first and then purchase,
Especially for startup. I mean, and the big thing is coming from South Africa. I can't talk for the UK or America or wherever else, but the South African market, vehicle market, and the New Zealand vehicle market is two different things, totally.
Absolutely different. I mean, I've been in the motor trade for 35 years, and it happened to me. I came here and I bought a little Mercedes when I arrived, and the flicker switch broke, and it cost half of the car's price to repair.
Yeah.
So, it is quite strange. We've got a lot of wonderful vehicles, imports from Japan. Nothing wrong with the cars.
That's right.
At affordable prices. But as I said, if you rent, you've got a fixed cost per month. There's no hidden cost. There's no surprises. Find your feet, settle in. I get so many people, they get job offers, they start working, and, in a month's time, 2 months down the line, they change jobs for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I get people that go back quite often. Now they're sitting with a car and it's on a hire purchase. And as I said, they owe more on the car than what it's worth. So just be careful, if you're coming, you're obviously coming to stay, permanently, some of them, and there's a lot of time to purchase. Don't be in a hurry to purchase a vehicle.
Yeah. And somebody saying, take your time when you buy a vehicle. We unfortunately bought a vehicle that was imported, and a month later, the first engine light started to come on. After 10 months, we were lucky to sell that vehicle and buy a newer vehicle. Thanks on Trevor for also assisting when the vehicle broke and I could call him and ask for advice. So just somebody saying thanks to what you helped him with already.
I don't know who's that somebody, but somebody, thank you very much. It was a pleasure helping you.
On our other channel, unfortunately, I can't pop that on the screen. Somebody's just saying, Burger saying, you can't believe that you can speak English, by the way. So,
Dankie, Burger. Thank you.
So, guys, if you're from South Africa and you're still on your Afrikaans, you can call Trevor up and say hi. The person who said thanks for the vehicle was Marika Brown.
Oh, Marika. Yes, she's also from my hometown, Wellington. Hi, Marika. Good morning.
Yeah. So, and good morning to everybody else who said good morning. I said there's quite a few people saying good morning. Christa Groenewald, Vanita said morning. Rini De Lange. So, yeah, good morning for everybody that said good morning. Trevor, the interesting fact about renting vehicles out, I always keep maintaining that a rented vehicle is the best 4x4 in the world that you can get. Have you had any of those problems yet?
Jan, we're fairly lucky. I think the customer base we service, we're very hands-on. We're well known for clean cars, reliable cars, although they're a bit older cars, because we want to give that saving, pass that through to the consumer. We don't run brand new cars like the likes of Avis or Hertz. I just did a check this morning. If you would rent a entry-level hatchback from us compared to Avis is exactly 5 times more than what we charge.
Okay.
So, it's all about money. You're paying cheaper. You're getting a little bit older car. I always say to the guys, what do you want? What do you need? Do you need a fancy car? Do you need a new car? 99% out of the time, it's not the case. But yeah, we do get from time to time people that leave them dirty and people that smoke in them, and it's part of the trade. It's the pains of the trade. Generally, we're very lucky. The customers look after them. They look after them very well, and we've approximately got 70 vehicles on the road now, 4 different branches in the country. And it's challenging getting our vehicles relocated from the South Island to the north, with the ferries and that type of thing. But yeah, it's just part of the pain of the trade, So but we're lucky regarding that.
Vanita Herbert's just saying on the other channel, good advice, Trevor, on finding your feet first. South Africans are not used to this, and this is a good mindset change. So yeah, it's good advice on finding your feet first, and it's quite important. I mean, you're overwhelmed by everything new, and I would say about 50% of the people arriving in New Zealand have never been out of South Africa. So this is their first time they go overseas, and they go overseas permanently. It's a bit overwhelming, to be quite frank.
My personal experience, and obviously I get to do with all walks of life, and all around the world, but in particularly South Africans, 99% of them haven't got the time or the money to come and visit and check out New Zealand, for a month or 3 weeks before they make that final decision. So it's quite right what you say, that they arrive here for the first time. They don't know their left from their right. They don't even know where they're going to stay. And yet they commit themselves to with a financial deal of 3 or 5 years paying off on a vehicle. It sometimes doesn't make sense. And one thing that I need to express so many times or tell South Africans, vehicles are not status symbols in New Zealand. People are down to earth. People couldn't really care what you drive. I get so many people, the typical South African arriving here, the dad wants his Hilux and the mum wants a Fortuner. And think carefully, you don't have to spend that type of money on vehicles. There's a lot of other vehicles out there if you really want to purchase reliable vehicles, good vehicles, and good reputable dealers. Yes, there's a lot of sharks out there. Be careful. Make use of your fellow South Africans, with the likes like myself, other motor dealers, other South Africans, finance houses, that know the trade. Ask around, phone around. I get that so often. People ask me what they should do, and then they do anyway what they want to do, So, but I think that's part of your program as well, is to inform people and make use of the people that's been here, got the T-shirt, and work through the right channels,
A question that I often ponder about is, should I buy private or should I just go through a dealer?
Well, when you purchase a vehicle through a dealer, you fall under the so-called Consumer Act. So it is better in some cases. All depends on what vehicles you buy. Obviously, if you buy new, you're going to buy it through the dealer. So yes, they've got to give you a certain amount of time guarantee. You can take the car back. Where you would purchase from a private person, it's private to private. There's no Consumer Act, so you've got no rights. If you buy the car from the private person, you drive out there and it breaks, you've got no claim against the previous owner. Again, all depends on what type of car or what amount of money. If it's a fairly cheap car and it might be your second or your third car, I wouldn't be too concerned to buy privately. If it's your first car and it's a quite expensive car, I will much rather buy through a reputable dealer.
That's right. Yeah, and the other thing is I found that some of the Kiwis don't service their vehicles. They buy it and they drive it until forever.
Unreal. It's just one of those things. And another thing I should mention, diesel vehicles for some or other reason is very, very popular all around the world, and people tend to think, it's the way to go. Bear in mind, in New Zealand, you pay road charges on diesel vehicles.
Yep.
So if you would purchase an older diesel vehicle with no service history, 99% of these people just turn the clock back because they don't want to pay the road charges, which is fairly dear. So just be very careful. I had a case 2 weeks ago where somebody from South Africa bought an older Hilux. It had 220,000 kilometers on. I did a few, researches, and we actually found out that the car had 360,000 kilometers. So just bear in mind and be very, very, very cautious when you buy, in particular, diesel vehicles without service history. You definitely run the risk that some of those vehicles, the mileage would be turned back, or they just disconnect the speedometer, just so that the mileage don't count up for them to pay road charges.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if anything, if you buy through a dealer and the car break, even if they have turned back the odometer, then you still have a resource for them to fix the vehicle, especially within the first, I think it's a 3-month guarantee they must give or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I say, there's dealers and there's dealers. I had a customer yesterday arriving from South Africa where dealers basically wait for them on the airport to try and just flog them cars. It's not reputable dealers. And again, just be very, very cautious. Marika Brown mentioned now they bought from a dealer, the car gave problems. And yes, I get that basically on a daily basis. There's a lot of sharks out there. So if you want to purchase, phone the likes like myself, make contact. I can establish, if I don't know the dealer, very quickly if it's a reputable dealer or not.
Yeah, and ask around. Really ask around. A lot of us know exactly where and what, and especially the sharks. The shark surface very quickly in this country. So
yeah,
and I'm not afraid to say, don't buy there. I won't say why, but I'm going to just say don't buy there. It's probably not the best way to go around. So yeah,
it's difficult, and as you say, people come here with limited funds, and then these people couldn't really care, you don't want to sit bringing here $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000, and you spend half of that money on a car, and then your vehicle breaks down, so just be wary.
Let's talk cars. Let's talk $15,000 and less. What is a good vehicle to buy in that class?
Well, obviously, like you would know by now, there's no bad manufacturer. If there's a bad manufacturer, if there's a bad car out there, it will phase itself out of the market. What does happen is there's vehicles that's more wanted than others, or more popular than others, and that ultimately demands the market. That's why you would ideally pay for a Hilux, more than what you would pay for a maybe a GMC or one of those, not popular brands or Great Wall Motors brands or whatever the case may be. Doesn't mean that it's a bad vehicle. Supply and demand, and that ultimately drives the price. You could buy so much more between $5,000 and $10,000. For instance, if you buy a car for $5,000, you would roughly have a car that's 15 years old with approximately 200,000 kilometers. When you start buying with around 10,000, 12,000, you'll buy a car half the age with half that mileage. So and ultimately it all depends on what you can afford and what you really want to spend on the car. But yeah, 15,000 I would say is a fairly, if you're looking for an entry-level SUV type of car, 15,000 is a fair budget. If you're looking for if you buy a small sedan or a small hatchback, around the $8,000 to $10,000, $12,000, you get something very reasonable. And I always suggest to the people, try and stay away from the European makes. They're very good cars in South Africa. They're very good cars in New Zealand. But if they do break, their parts are extremely expensive compared to the Japanese makes, or the Chinese market. So the BMWs and the Mercs and the VWs, they are expensive to maintain. Unfortunately,
And
it's
stay
just.
away from the cheap $1,500 cars.
I always say that to people. If you
That's a
buy
car.
cheap and reliable doesn't go together.
Oh,
It's just as simple as that.
yeah. And
So
even
what?
if it's a Toyota, which is a good brand, even if it's a
Uh,
Toyota for $1,500, there's a reason why that car is only worth $1,500.
I
So,
always say to people, you purchase a $2,000 or $3,000 vehicle, the chances of spending another $2,000 or $3,000 on it very soon
yeah.
is 90%. And then you're sitting with an old cheap vehicle that costs you double the price. And I mean, that's obviously not the
We'll
ideal.
never sell it for any of that price.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless if you don't know the person you're buying it from, just don't go there. That's
And Christo
red
Groen
flag.
was saying that the motor trade is definitely a different game at all. So
Yeah, one thing here compared to South Africa is that vehicle finance here is extremely easy compared to, or much easier compared to South Africa. What I do want to warn people about is there are secondary lenders out there. There are finance houses out there that, under normal circumstances, if you would borrow money from the likes of a MFC or a Stanic or a Westbank or a ABSA, you won't get granted here, so they go to secondary lenders that charge you an enormous interest rate.
that's right.
I had a case last week where a poor guy came from South Africa, and the finance house gave him finance, and when I had a look at his contract, he was paying 17% interest.
That's heavy. That's heavy.
After a 4-year period, or in this case, it was 4 years, 48 months, he would have paid 35% more on that vehicle as the original purchase price.
Yeah.
And people must really inform themselves and ask the questions before they do finance deals. As I say, I wear both hats. I rent out cars and I sell cars.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of wonderful finance companies out there, but there's also a lot of finance companies that will screw you. And please be aware. It's your right. You may ask the questions. Ask what's the interest rate.
Yeah.
I know some people are hard up and they want a car and they haven't got a choice of finance. You've always got the choice. And if you're not sure, pick up the phone or send me an email or get in touch with Jan, and he can get in touch with me, and I'll gladly try and
Only
assist.
people have to buy on I can say have to finance vehicles these days, because a lot of people, or the last few months, the people arriving in New Zealand is way poorer than the people coming previously. So
I
money
see that.
is not a lot.
Absolutely. I see that on the rental side as well, purchase side as well. We used to sell the top marquees, big Land Cruisers and cars of $100,000 plus, $70,000 plus. And the market tends to move cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. It's about affordability, and with the interest rates on the mortgage, those people that can afford houses, they've got $2,000-$3,000 spendable income less every month.
Yeah.
Obviously, they got to cut somewhere.
Yeah. Question coming from Nikki Vessels. What is the average interest rate on finance cars?
Ultimately, it depends on the year model of the car. There's quite a lot of factors that influences that interest rate. I would reckon anything around 12%, 11.5% would be a fair rate to pay. Anything more than 12.5%, that's too high.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies out there that could finance you at around about that rate. But as I say, it differs from customer to customer. The vehicle, the customer profile will ultimately decide what the interest rate would be.
Why would they charge you more on an older vehicle than a newer vehicle? I could never understand that. I know that is so, but I could never understand why would they charge you more because the car's older.
In case of when they have to repo that car or take it back, and they got to take that vehicle to an auction, their chances of losing money compared to a newer vehicle with lower mileage. So their risk is higher. When the risk is higher, when the customer profile is lower, in other words, again, when the risk is higher, your interest rate is higher.
Yeah.
It's hard
And
to believe, but that's unfortunately the way it works.
yeah.
So yeah,
And somebody just arriving in New Zealand probably won't have the best customer record that you can think of because there's no
that's the
track record.
problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and that's the problem I've got with these finance houses throwing these finance deals to the people. And that's for that same reason I go back and say, find your feet,
Yeah.
look at your options. There are options out there. Don't buy from the first best guy, and don't fall for all these finance packages. There's if something is too good to be true, it's most probably not true. So
There's a reason why it's too good to be true.
yeah.
All right. So we've got about 4 minutes left. So people can contact you while they are still in South Africa and get some help or some advice only, if that
They're
is
more than welcome. They can go onto our websites. I've got two websites: www.nzlongtermcarhire.co.nz. That's our rental division, and then our hire division, and then our purchase side is Henry Roux Motors, which is www.hrmltd.co.nz. Henry Roux Motors Limited. So it's www.hrmltd.co.nz.
all right. And if you guys still want more, Trevor is on our Moving to NZ website as well. You can go and have a look. If you didn't get the two websites that Trevor said, you can contact now. So on the website, movingtonz.co.nz, he is there as well. All right. Trevor, 2 minutes. Any last words?
Keep your South African rands tight. Keep it against your chest. Spend it smartly. You're going to use it. You're going to need to use it. So don't splash your cash on expensive cars. Keep your rands tight to your chest and work smart with your money. Everything is expensive in this country. Everything is 10 times more expensive. So hang on to those rands as long as you can. And if you don't know, ask questions. We are here to help. And there's people in the country that's been here long enough. Listen to what they say. Make use of that knowledge. Yes, that's my final tip to everybody.
And guys, if you are unsure, contact us, contact me, contact Trevor. We've been around the bush in New Zealand. To be quite honest, we've been around a few bushes actually. So
yeah, literally and physically.
Physically. So we can help you out down there if there's any questions regarding that. And I think use the knowledge that there is on the ground. It's not going to cost you anything. So yeah. All right, that was us. Trevor, thank you for popping in this morning. I'm just going to pop you out and let's say goodbye to the people.
You're welcome, Jan. Thank you very much for everybody tuning in. And if there's any questions, like I mentioned, please feel free to contact me on Facebook or via our web pages. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. All right, guys, that was Trevor from Long Term Car Hire, your car hire expert in New Zealand. And he's got areas, all these areas all over New Zealand that you can find his vehicles from Auckland, Hamilton, Cambridge, all the way down to the South Island. So there's no reason why you don't need his services. I think it's a good service that he's offering. So, all right, until next week, same time, same place, and we'll see you there. Thank you.